and you go on about your business. Because what happens when we have too many free radicals, that leads to a lot of inflammation. They call it chronic inflammation. Chronic meaning like it's been there for a long time. So when that happens, our bodies are like in a state of fight or flight all the time. And then our immune system is worn down. And they call it the silent fire, chronic inflammation. And there's many causes for that we can address in so many different ways. Some causes are poor diet, especially all the processed foods, and sugar. Sugar is another big one. And I always tell people, if you're looking at a package and you can't even pronounce what's on the label, please don't eat it because that's going to probably cause some problems. But the other aspect, even in addition to what we're eating, is our emotions, our thoughts. Because when we're under stress and we haven't blown off that steam, that can lead to chronic inflammation, which is very interesting. And then toxins. We're exposed to thousands of chemical toxins in our air, water, food, soil, insecticides, pesticides, glyphosate, fungicides. There's heavy metal, there's radioactivity, there's electromagnetic frequency, there's different, bugs, both man-made and natural ones. And it's like an assault that we're getting. So it's miraculous, Keith, that we're all even doing as well as we're doing. Right. And so, right? Truly a miracle. But we need glutathione more than ever now. And we can't afford to detox once a season. We need to do it on a daily basis. Because before in the past, our bodies do make glutathione, but we're not making enough to deal with everything, all these toxins we're being bombarded with. So we need it from an outside source. So toxins are another reason that causes incredible chronic inflammation, and then lack of sleep. But also lack of sleep can be due to the diet we're eating, which is causing inflammation, our emotional stress, and then all these toxins that can affect our sleep. And then not moving enough, because most of us are in front of a computer most of the day. Infections, guts that are inflamed, and most of our guts are inflamed because everything that we're eating and drinking nowadays, and stress. And then hormone changes in blood sugar. I can't emphasize this enough. Blood sugar really impacts it. And then all of this inflammation then affects our arteries. And Keith, everyone talks about cholesterol, but when our arteries are so inflamed and our heart muscle is so inflamed, what happens is then cholesterol, the body says, hey, we need to put this soothing, waxy balm called cholesterol to decrease that inflammation. But in the medical field, they've actually made cholesterol look like the evil person, when actually it says it's saying is, hey, I'm just here to help and bring down this inflammation. So then when that cholesterol is there in our arteries, other, minerals and calcium can get stuck on that. And then over time, it kind of builds and builds and builds, and that leads to plaque. So it's not actually the cholesterol that's causing the problem. It's actually, we have to take it back 2 notches and say, what's causing this cholesterol buildup? It's actually coming from chronic inflammation, and that is key. And then the body releases all these inflammation chemicals to help to help with, it's trying to help, let's put it that way. And then you see, if you check your lab work, you can see different markers like CRP, other markers go up because they're trying to say, hey, our body's inflamed here. So it's chronic inflammation and high levels of free radicals that are really causing the chaos with our heart and our blood vessels.
Yeah, it sounds intense. And you said the GL word. I tell people all the time, it's not the gluten in the bread, it's the glyphosate that's causing the problem. So great. A lot of really great examples in that answer. So what's the biggest myth or misunderstanding people have about heart health and antioxidants like glutathione?
Keith, this is one of my favorite questions because this needs to be really clarified. The myth is that, it's cholesterol. And it's not. It's not, because again, this is so important. And I hope everybody writes this down who's either here live or watching the replay. It's inflammation, chronic, long-term inflammation. I should be clear. It's long-term inflammation and an overabundance of free radicals and that oxidative stress, which causes the insides to literally rust. That is the true cause of heart disease. And that's important because, you know, as I was mentioning before, and, you know, Keith, I know we both eat a lot of butter and ghee and, you know, all of these foods that have been eaten for only, you know, thousands of years,
Right.
right? So it's the quality of the food, it's the quality of the fat that makes all the difference in the world, because cholesterol is a soothing, waxy balm that helps put out inflammation. So what happens is that that inflammation and all of these free radicals are damaging the lining of the arteries that are coming from the heart and going to the heart. Then what happens when that lining of the arteries are damaged? The body says, hey, we need to do some patchwork on this. So then it actually then needs cholesterol to go in as a kind of soothing balm to heal that up. And then, you know, the body makes more chemicals to help with that as well. But those chemicals actually create more inflammation. And then as different minerals and different items are being passed through all of these arteries, they get stuck to this plaque, and then it builds and builds and builds and builds. And then also when we have low levels of glutathione, high levels of free radicals, our arteries become rigid and stiff and blood can't flow through. Then our arteries get more and more narrow, so our heart's not getting enough oxygen. That means our organs aren't getting enough oxygen. And then later on, that's where we see heart attacks and strokes. But if we have to tie it all back, Keith, it all goes back to that long-term inflammation, which they call chronic inflammation, and too many free radicals and oxidative stress. That's really the root cause of this. And there's one more myth, is that everyone thinks all antioxidants are the same. Oh, I take vitamin C, that's good enough. It's not. Glutathione is the mother of all antioxidants, the mother of all antioxidants. And as I said, we, you know, our cells make it, but nowadays we're just not able to keep up with the demand because of everything we're exposed to. And so, but we need it for our heart, for our brain, to balance our immune system. And we need that when, again, like a superhero, glutathione comes in, it helps decrease that inflammation. It helps to neutralize all these free radicals that are trying to cause chaos. And then it protects our arteries. It heals the lining of our arteries, makes our arteries more flexible, increases oxygen to our heart and to every organ in our body. It takes care of everything, including getting rid of toxins that are affecting our heart health. So the real myth is knowing that we need to get to the root cause, which is inflammation and too many free radicals. And glutathione is the master hero, the mother of all antioxidants, to help us with that.
Superhero. You know, you talked earlier, you mentioned there was over 400 functions, and you basically just covered a handful at best. So it's wild to think about just how important this antioxidant of glutathione really is to the human body. So This is great. This is some amazing. I hope everybody's taking notes, because this is some solid gold stuff. Are there, Dr. Chari, are there specific warning signs that someone's heart health might be declining due to low antioxidants like glutathione?
Definitely, Keith. There are. And, you know, sometimes we brush off symptoms thinking they're more nuisance symptoms and nothing to pay attention to. But we need to remember that, you know, just like in the fire alarm, when it goes off, it's trying to warn us there's smoke and there's something brewing that we need to take care of. In the same way, our body's trying to let us know, hey, not everything is going as it should. That maybe this is something we should look into. So when our antioxidant levels are low,